Well, good Saturday morning, meteorologist Adam Fike here. Just wanted to hop on, do a quick video update since we are seeing ongoing storms, none of which right now really severe. We do have some flash flood warnings we can see east of St. Louis, as well as into that more so northeastern, north central Iowa area as well. So heavy rain really going to be the main impact from these storms as well. Gusty winds, small hail possibility as well. Can't 100% rule out a tornado threat as well, but already storms are going a little bit quicker than expected. So this is because of what we would call as outflow. Notice on radar. We can notice as we look right along the Iowa border, the Missouri border, you can see basically the center of your screen. At the bottom of the radar, you can see what's starting to push off. It looks like a little line that's pushing south of the storms, basically right along that Iowa and Missouri line. That's what we call outflow. It just means you have air that's out ahead of the storms that's rushing really quickly out ahead of the main line of storms. And what that does is it causes more storms to start to develop, and it also gives the sense of, oh, storms are moving a little bit quicker as well. This just because it causes more storms to pop up out ahead of that main line as well. So the radar site, Des Moines, picking up on that outflow as well, really right along the Iowa-Illinois border. Not really getting that as well. Storms will start to slow down a little bit, but even especially along the Iowa-Missouri-Illinois border area, I really would expect to see those storms start to move a little bit quicker as well. So right now, we see those storms moving east of St. Louis through Springfield. So right now, what we're noticing with here is, going to draw this out here really quick. We got this little bit of a warm front that I'm drawing here in red. And then we have our main line that's going to move through later, that's moving through Iowa right now, that I have there in blue. So as the storms continue to outflow, you're going to notice the blue line can progress a little bit more southeast. I'm drawing those areas there. And this red line, that's the warm front, we have more so just, I'll call these scattered storms at this point. They were a little bit more isolated, but that coverage is starting to increase a little bit. These are moving a little bit more due east, even as a few spots are moving a little bit more northeast. But those two lines are sort of going to come together, so let's actually draw that in purple. So as the blue line moves, the red line, they're sort of going to combine, making these weird line shapes, and eventually as it moves east, like I'm showing here in purple, it's going to be more linear as it continues to move pretty much east through the rest of the morning. Excuse me. And into the afternoon as well. So I would expect these to move a little bit quicker. So notice here is 11. Here's noon. You can notice storms moving through Rockford, still east of St. Louis, that main line. Now, this amount in particular doesn't do good with the storms out ahead, so I still would expect to see a few extra storms out ahead right along the Indiana-Illinois border as early as 11, even possibly getting to central Indiana as early as noon, even lingering through 2 to 3 p.m. as well. So I chose this model, the MPAS RT, because it's doing best with current conditions. It's just an hour slow because of outflowing. Models really do a terrible job of picking up when those storms outflow as well. So here's a look at 1, 2, 3 o'clock. You notice even by 3, storms right on the doorstep of the Indy metro area. So you can see through South Bend, storms have already moved through Lafayette. Indianapolis, Bloomington, that's going to be that 3 o'clock again. We'll run that risk of speeding up an hour or two, which is why I actually have a timing graphic here. Let me pull this up. This is more based off of if the storms move through a little bit quicker. So notice these storms right along the doorstep of the Indy metro area as early as 3 p.m., while that model is closer to 4 p.m. of actually reaching Indy. So this is going to be Fort Wayne, Muncie closer to 4 p.m., so even 3:34, right along the Indiana-Ohio border, 5 p.m., so spots like Toledo, even Cincinnati, Dayton, that's going to be closer to that 5:36 p.m. time frame. Columbus, Central Ohio, closer to 7 p.m., and even if the storms can hold up, that's going to be more so Cleveland, even approaching Zanesville and Canton, Ohio as well, as late as 8 p.m. as well. Well, possibly as early as 8 p.m. as well. So this timing more so represents if those storms are able to move a little bit quicker thanks to outflowing. Now, that's made possible with what I would call, actually, let's look here really quick. Give me 1 second. When we look at this sounding here, we have a lot of, I understand there's a lot to look at here, but The few important things to look at here is going to be our cape, which I have circled here, which is 2,000, which typically, if you have cape over 500, you're getting storms. It's just a lot of juice in the atmosphere, and when you're over 2,000, that is a lot of juice, which means these storms are going to be moving. The air at the ground is going to be rapidly moving upward, this allowing storms to develop, this allowing lightning to develop as well. So, for outflow, you need high cape and low shear. So, the second red circle here, notice the surface to 1 kilometer. This means the very pretty much close to the ground, less within 1,000 feet. You don't have a lot of shear, which means the storms, when they outflow, the initial storms are going to be moving very slow. Outflow is going to catch up behind it, so you're going to get these big blobs of very, very heavy rain that can cause even possibly isolated flash flooding. So the initial storms, not going to move very quick, but the storms behind it are going to quickly catch up, and these storms are just going to blow up very quickly with very, very heavy rain as well. But for those of you that don't know what shear is, we call it, there's 2 different types. We have directional shear and speed shear. Directional shear is best represented by these pencils. Notice how one layer of the atmosphere, or this pencil, is moving one direction, and the layer above it is moving a different direction. Notice by the tips of the pencil moving in different directions. That helps cause storms to become more isolated. They're more broken up. This helps stronger directional shear helps tornadoes develop. It also gives these very weird looking cloud shapes within storms that look like UFO shapes. They're just very wonky. Then there's also speed shear. Speed shear is more common. It's also where you have, my bottom hand here represents bottom layer of the cloud. Pencil represents the air, and then this is an upper layer. Notice how my top hand is moving quicker than my bottom hand. That's speed shear. One layer of the atmosphere, they're going the same direction. One is just moving quicker than the other, and it causes the pencil to roll. That's what gives you those weird looking shelf clouds that look like they're rolling and give those very ominous look out ahead of the storm. So, in this scenario, we really don't have a whole lot of shear, at least speed shear in the lower levels of the atmosphere as we go up. Notice how winds are calmer down here, but they're stronger higher up into the atmosphere. Notice winds are pretty uniform. There's not really much turning, so I'm not super concerned for tornadoes. But with that speed shear, that's going to help cause more so a line of storms rather than broken up. So the concern, though, is for gusty winds as well, of course. So let's pull up that graphic as well. So there's a severe map. Let's turn my camera off. Especially northern Indiana, going to be that better chance. So north of I-70, even into Ohio, Illinois, that's going to be that better chance where there's more speed shear, and it's going to allow for some stronger gusts of wind and some heavier downpours as well. So anywhere in that orange shaded area, that's enhanced. These are going to be more so widespread storms, wind gusts possible 58 plus. Okay, rule out the isolated flash flooding, even some small hail as well. So when we looked at that sounding, let's actually pull that back up as well. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay. So here, let's clear that. So when we looked at this sounding here, notice I'm going to circle here. Actually, let's change up the colors. Let's make it blue. So in this blue circled area here, notice how that red and green line are separated. The red line represents temperatures. The green line represents your moisture, your dew points. So the further apart they are, the drier it is. So you notice where it says 700 on the side, that's 700 millibars, a couple thousand feet. And between 300, it gets very, very dry. So that's going to allow some hail to develop. If this dry pocket, especially between 300 and 500 millibars, that second blue circle, number 2, I'm going to make that number 2 right there. If that was further down in the atmosphere, I would be concerned about some large hail. But since it's so high up, a lot of the moisture is closer to the ground, so not a whole lot of hail is going to develop. But still, we'll have to watch for some hail as well with any of these storms. More so, those storms are going to be a little bit more isolated. So, spots further north, going to have to deal with, I would give that a better wind threat. The further south you go, there's going to be actually a better chance for hail as those storms are more isolated. Even spots towards Toledo, Lima, can't 100% rule out some storms as well. Even in this orange shaded area, we'll have to watch a risk for a few possible tornadoes as well. Not super concerned about that threat. That's going to be more so because of our helicity. Now, helicity is, again, made up of your cape, what we showed in energy, and your shear. This is your ability for storms to hold this sort of rotation higher up in the atmosphere that allows tornadoes to develop. So, anywhere you see these shades of green, that's where some stronger values of the helicity are. But since we don't have a whole lot of directional shear, notice that these values are relatively low. So anywhere that's in blue is less than 100. Anywhere in the green is where we see a few more spots where it's a little bit higher. So especially 6, 7, 8 p.m., notice those values do peak over 100. So as the line of storms is moving through, so here's 4, 5, 6 p.m., notice those values of the stronger helicity are north of I-70. That is why I am a little more concerned for a brief tornado risk as well. Again, since these storms are more linear rather than broken up, that chance is relatively low, but not 100% zero. This is where you get those storms that look like they're bow and arrows, where they're sort of bowing. You get strong winds that push up behind it, and it causes that bow to break and can lead to just a very brief, weak tornado. Again, that chance is relatively low. I'm more concerned about winds as well as some flooding potential. Now, because of that, this is the last thing I actually want to show is rainfall. So here we notice your PWAT values. This is how much moisture is in the atmosphere itself. So notice as I just hover my mouse around as we head towards 11, even towards 2 and 5 p.m. Notice PWAT values of 1.86 and even 2. This means this is the max amount of moisture that's in the atmosphere. It doesn't mean that all of it's going to fall, but this means we will have to watch the risk for some storms to bring locally half an inch to an inch plus of rainfall. So when we look at rainfall totals through tomorrow morning, notice these isolated pockets of where you see purple and pink. This is where some storms can easily bring that half an inch to an inch. Locally, with that outflow, notice even a spot here in southern Indiana, I get a value of 1.75, even 0.96. This will be the concern that any of those storms that slow down and the outflow catches up to the initial storm and forms more storms, we will have to watch that risk for some flash flooding as well. So just one more time, let's pull up that severe timing graphic again. Right along the Indiana-Illinois border, that's going to be closer to 2 p.m. Indy metro area. The line starts. This is when I expect storms to start moving in as early as 3 to 4 p.m. for Indy, probably closer to 3:30 if it doesn't interact with that outflow, closer to 4. Ohio-Indiana border, closer to 5 p.m. Central Ohio, that's going to be closer to 7 p.m. Really by the time it gets to eastern Ohio into Pennsylvania. Can't 100% roll up some gusty winds, some heavy rain with those, but that really chance for severe starts to come to an end as well. And again, better chance for our severe storms going to be really northern Indiana, northern Illinois, and northwestern Ohio. So anywhere in the orange, that's where we'll have to watch that risk for a brief tornado or two. Anywhere in the yellow shaded area, that's going to be scattered storms, winds 40 to 60, heavy downpours, possible hail up to half an inch as well. And anywhere in these green shaded areas, so Kentucky, much of Kentucky, eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, any of those storms can bring downpours, hail up to 1/4 of an inch, and wind gusts of 35 to 45 miles per hour as well. So I'll continue to have updates through the rest of the day, but of course, if you have any questions, concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. More than happy to help. Have a great rest of your Saturday.